Spain began their Nations League campaign with a victory over England on Saturday night at Wembley, and they will continue tomorrow against Croatia, all under the new management of Luis Enrique. To discuss the change in Spain, Andy West joins us on the line. Good evening, Andy. So far, so good for Luis Enrique. I suppose he had a couple of questions to answer coming in, notwithstanding his fantastic record at club level, but a lot of the selections, let's say, for the squad had come into question in the lead up to that England game.
Yeah, there were a few interesting things that he did with the first squad. One of them was leaving out Koke, the Atletico Madrid player who'd been a mainstay for the last 2 or 3 years. And he replaced him really with another Atletico player, Saul, who more than justified that, had a great game. He was man of the match for many people, scored a goal. So that was one tick that he got. Another big decision was Iago Aspas was left out of the squad. Then there was an injury, so he brought him back in and started him after being impressed by him in training, and he had a decent game as well. The one that there's still a big question mark over is at left back, where Jordi Alba was left out of the squad after really what seemed like just a personal vendetta with Luis Enrique. They fell out during their time together at Barcelona. Marcos Alonso played. He was okay, but really I don't think there's many people who think Alba should not even be in the squad. If you're not going to start him, okay, you can make an argument for that. Alonso's bigger, more physical defensively, but Alba's got to be in that squad.
What's the genesis of the issue between Jordi Alba and Luis Enrique?
Well, it goes back to the last season at Barcelona, where Luis Enrique was experimenting with a few different formations, and one of those that he tried was a 3-5-2 with wing backs. And when he got Neymar available for the left-hand side, he was playing. So Jordi Alba couldn't get in the team, and he had a fair few weeks not playing and didn't take that at all well. And really, that was the start of it all. And he's a spiky character as well, Jordi Alba, as is Luis Enrique. Neither of them are going to back down. So it really degenerated from that and hasn't really recovered yet. But he's shown Luis Enrique, I think, with this decision to leave him out, I'm in charge. You want to play for me, I'm going to be in charge. Yeah,
even some of the players around the squad, Alvaro Morata in particular, is one of those ones who, said Alba's a great guy to have around the squad. He seems, the kind of personality lends itself to a squad type scenario. For a player like that, of that quality to be left out, you want the replacement to, I suppose, perform just as well. And it's kind of good that he has a Marcos Alonso who's performing so well, both for Chelsea and now it seems for Spain too.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I think he's nowhere near as dynamic going forward as Alba is. He hasn't got the same pace. And he did get caught out for England's goal as well. So I thought he had an okay game. But I still think in due course, Alba will get back in. I'm sure he will. It's just, I think, a bit of a flexing of the muscles from Luis Enrique, who has shown, as I mentioned with Iago Aspas, that he's willing to admit a mistake, as he did actually openly today at his press conference looking ahead to the Croatia game tomorrow. And he said, I made a mistake with Aspas. I left him out of the squad. Then I brought him in with the injury, and he really impressed me, and he did really well. I've made a mistake. So he is big enough to admit those errors, and I think he'll do that with Alba.
I'm not envisaging a massive crash in form from Jordi Alba, but I'd imagine what's going to be key for him now, if he's going to work his way back into the good graces of Luis Enrique, is that he keeps his gob shut and doesn't say much and doesn't basically give out and say it's a disgrace that I'm not in this squad, etc.
Yeah, and he didn't really make a very good start with that. Just after the squad was announced, the last games before the international break, Barca played Huesca 1-8-2. He had a very good game. He scored, and he blew a kiss to the camera with his hands over his eyes. And he said afterwards it was a message to his son. It didn't look like it. I think we all know who it was really to, and that's not good. That's just silly, and that's the kind of thing he'll do. Though he's very spiky, and as you say, he just needs to keep a lid on it. And if he wants to play, just play.
How was the performance against England received generally back in Spain?
Really well, very well. With a win away from home, England are respected in Spain. Probably more than their performances over the last few years have deserved, because the Premier League is so well watched, as it is everywhere, obviously. And winning at Wembley in particular, after going behind, coming back, Marca said it was the best possible start to the Luis Enrique era. Couldn't have started any better, they said. So yeah, it was very well received. The performances all round, was there much question over the England goal? Because David De Gea goes up for that ball, he's got Danny Welbeck essentially kind of
passively backing into him, if that's not a contradiction in terms, and ends up scoring. Is there a worry? Because I know there was talk that, you know, perhaps Kepa could be given a run as goalkeeper, and there would be, you'd imagine, a feeling out process from Luis Enrique, particularly with these Nations League games, that he's going to feel out certain members of his squad and see who can perform roles for him. Yeah,
and he probably will tomorrow against Croatia. So whether that'll be Kepa as one of the rotations, we'll see. But no, the reaction to De Gea's performance was very positive, because he had a very shaky World Cup. And the foul at the end was overlooked. And I think whether it was a foul or not, they're always given. So I think people in Spain turned a blind eye to that, and instead looked at the otherwise very good game he had. A couple of really good saves, looked good with the ball, looked a lot more confident than he did in the World Cup. And I think the consensus in Spain is that De Gea is back at his level from that performance anyway. Given the nature of the retirements and just the age profile of the squad changing over the course of the last 3, 4, 5 years in particular, the balance of the squad has ended up being largely Real Madrid, spine to it at least. And it's interesting to see how Luis Enrique manages that, because I know he's not necessarily the biggest fan. He was clearly a past player there, but I don't think he was the post-leaving in the mid-90s, the greatest former Madrid man. Managing that balance and keeping things on the up and up, is that something that he's going to be well able for? Is it something that he's going to find difficult to manage? I know once everybody, it seems, gets together with Spain now, that it's the one core message, the one core focus, but it's something that he'll probably have to keep on top of, and a lot of people will be keeping tabs of. People will be keeping tabs of it. People will be looking at the bias he has towards one of the two clubs. People will be talking about it. He will not care less. He's not the kind of person to indulge in that kind of side issue. As far as he will see it, who do I want in my team? Who do they play for? I couldn't care less. He won't indulge in that whatsoever. But I think he did show straight away that that's going to be the case by only having one Barcelona player. I mean, that's partly natural. Piqué, Iniesta have retired. Jordi Alba, he left out. There's not that many Spain players in the Barcelona team anymore that are eligible for Spain anyway. And selecting so many Real Madrid players, I think he'll be his own man. That's something he's going to do throughout. He's not going to bow to the public. He's certainly not going to bow to the media. He'll do what he wants, and irrespective of who they play for. Yeah. Is there going to be much of an evolution style-wise under Luis Enrique for Spain? That's the thinking, yeah, that he will try to take them on in the same way that he did Barcelona, who were really a bit lost when he took over. It was 2014. They'd had a bad season under Tata Martino, who never looked convincing as Barcelona coach. And it was really the end of tiki taka. That system was dead, and they needed a shot in the arm. He gave them a more direct approach. Everyone will remember he basically built the team around the MSN, the front three: Messi, Suarez, Neymar, and that meant getting the ball forward to them as quickly as possible. Whereas previously they'd built up through the midfield, possession, patient passing based around Xavi. It became then get the ball forward, a lot more diagonal, quick attacks, and get it to the front three. That's pretty much the same issue that Spain are facing after the World Cup, where they absolutely dominated that game against Russia, but couldn't create chances. It was sterile domination, no penetration. It's the same challenge that he faced at Barca that he faces now. Obviously, he doesn't have Messi or Suarez or Neymar, so that's his challenge, but he's going to try and go about it in the same way. Do we know what the personal reasons are behind Diego Costa's absence, or am I missing something there? No, he's involved. He's just through injury. He'll be back in the reckoning. Yeah, because I'm just wondering, does he fit into that style of play for Enrique then? He could well do. He could be, and it's always been a dilemma ever since he got the international call for Spain in the first place. Where does he fit in? Because he's so different from that passing style of play. He's maybe one who can benefit from the directness that they'll have under Luis Enrique. But I think a player that's going to become more important, mentioned him already, is Saul, who's young but not so young. He's got 3 or 4 years experience now. He's so versatile. He can play anywhere in midfield, and he's powerful. He's direct. He attacks the penalty area, and he's really the man in Spain at the moment under the spotlight, having had a really good game, having not played at all in the World Cup. And especially with tomorrow's game against Croatia, it's a really nice story, actually. It's being played in Elche, the town near Alicante, which was where he's from. It's where his dad was from. His dad played for the club for 10 years. His two brothers played for the club, and now he's going home there to play for Spain for the first time as really an important player in the team.
Yeah.
If he gets in, it might be rotation.
Struck me, as limited as my knowledge might be, that he wasn't involved more, being slightly overlooked by Hierro during the World Cup. Looking ahead to that game with Croatia, I mean, it's kind of interesting to gauge around Europe. You don't want to enter into a Europa League kind of territory whereby some countries are taking the competition more seriously than others. How seriously is the Nations League being taken back in Spain?
I think they, irrespective of whether it was the Nations League, this new format, I think these two games are very important for the sake of self-esteem. They've been so used over the last decade to being the top dogs or close to in Europe and the world. And that's come under question now for the first time, really, that people say, can that style still work? Is Spain on their way down? They've lost key players like Iniesta, Silva, Piqué. They've got a new manager. How successful are they going to be? So I think it's very important for them, probably forgetting that it's a new tournament, which obviously in due course they'll want to go and win. But the fact that they're playing strong opposition, World Cup semi-finalists, World Cup finalists, they've beaten one of them already away. They'll want to beat Croatia. They'll be taking it seriously to really make a mark, make a statement to the rest of the world.
Yeah, and tomorrow, to be fair, it looks like it has the makings of a belting game anyway.
Yeah, it should be. And obviously Modric and Rakitic, both very well-known players in Spain, having done so well for Barcelona and Real Madrid. Although it was interesting, Luis Enrique asked today, is Modric the best player in the world? He was obviously ranked in the top 3 for the FIFA award. And Luis Enrique said, no, it's Leo Messi. Of course he's going to say that, former Barcelona coach.
Yeah. It's an interesting time for Spanish football and the national team in particular. Andy West, thanks so much for taking time out to speak to us tonight. We look forward to that game with Croatia. It might be slightly more entertaining than Ireland-Poland. We'll put it that way.
Well, I think it could be a game that both teams will want to attack, whereas Croatia won't want to lose the momentum they've got from the World Cup as well. So, yeah, it should be a good one.
Exactly. Andy West, thanks so much for speaking to us tonight. We'll have more after this.